Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the critically acclaimed, the Pop the Trunk podcast, now Patreon exclusively sponsored Hall of Fame, Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope all of you all enjoyed your 4th of July Independence Day weekend with family and friends. And if you all were busy, and if you are away from the phone, away from the laptop, away from the internet, if you will, please allow me to provide for you all a Big Brother 23 cast update. Now, if you all are not aware, Misty Christie Valdiserri out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She was the dancing girl that I thought might hit it off pretty well with Flambeau Frazier. Well, ladies and gentlemen, she has been booted off the cast before it's even started. You know, if Big Brother US made it their personal goal to be just like BB Can 9, they're doing a fantastic job. Because if you all don't remember, there was a guy, I believe his name was Ethan, who was supposed to originally be on Big Brother Canada 9. He got swapped out for Kyle at the last second, and it turned into one of the best seasons we've ever seen. So if this follows the tradition, and if this leads to this season being legendary, because it's another thing that they're copying for Big Brother Canada 9, I'm all for it. I just think they're trying a little bit too hard. Now, I'm going to let Christy Valdiserri explain through her own words why she is no longer on Big Brother 23. Then after that, I'm going to give you all my thoughts on who will be taking her place in the season, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go.
Hey guys, so I don't want to be sharing this news, but I tested positive for COVID and I have no idea how I got it. I have the vaccine and I've been following all the guidelines up to this point. I have absolutely no symptoms. I feel perfectly fine. So I'm really grateful for that, but it's really frustrating because I won't be playing in Big Brother this summer. And I just have to say that when you're faced with adversity, I'm just telling myself that it's for a bigger reason. And I want to believe that. And I don't know the reason yet, but I've had a roller coaster of emotions the past 48 hours. And as I've been reading through all the comments online, whether they're good or bad, I just have to say that I have put myself out there and shared this vulnerability of being bald, and all the comments, good or bad, are affecting everybody else that also is bald and experiences this vulnerability. So spread love. And whether you're just finding out about alopecia or you know what alopecia is, you know that we're unstoppable, and I'm going to bounce back in one way or another.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, those were her words. So, because she has allegedly caught COVID, and this is someone who took the jabs, which just goes to show that ain't going to keep you all the way safe. But without getting completely political here, ladies and gentlemen, now that Christie has been confirmed fully for the Shadow Realm, unfortunately, Thanos has to give her a ceremonial snap, and I have to send her into the Nether Realm. So, Christie, it was nice knowing you. All right, well, Christie's gone. And now she has been replaced with a new player, ladies and gentlemen, a player known as Claire. And I must say, Coach, I am thoroughly impressed with what this girl Claire is bringing to the table, ladies and gentlemen. Now, before we take a 100% deep dive into what I like so much about Claire Rehfuss's game, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Claire Rehfuss. It might be Rehfuss. I hope it's Rehfuss because I don't want to say anything that sounds that close to such a bad word. I don't want to have to call you Rehfuss all season. I'd rather just call you Rehfuss, but that's neither here nor there, Coach. Now let's get into Claire's introduction package video, and then I'm going to get into what I like and what I might dislike about her on this season.
I'm Claire, I'm 25 years old, and I'm an AI engineer. One positive word to describe me is that I'm intelligent. One negative word to describe me is that I am messy.
Now, here's the thing. I am thoroughly impressed by Claire's inclusion. All of you all know that I ranked Christie bottom 3 out of 16. So, in my opinion, production, once again, is watching my WTFs, and they're once again trying to micromanage and to basically rig this season to a degree to go a certain way by giving the white side another formidable opponent for these black folks to have to deal with. You know, I thought these black men was in the Infinity War before Claire was even announced. Now I feel like, yo. Hey, man, listen. Come on, man. Y'all gonna bring Captain Marvel into the game now. You feel it, dig me? Late inclusion. Claire ain't gonna feel no pressure, Coach. She walking into this game. Listen, This is like the best hitter on your team just got injured, just got hit by a pitch. All you got to do is step up, be a pinch runner, and as soon as the ball get hit, just sprint. Worst come to worst is a fly ball, sack fly, the game over anyway. But if that ball get put into play, you better be hitting it because you just might not know. It might hit the wall, and before you know it, inside the park home run, or better yet, you can run all the way from first base straight to home, coach. Now, I know that sports analogy is a little far-fetched for a lot of people that ain't hardcore fans, but my point still remains here. This girl, Claire, in my opinion, her pivoting prowess is twice the amount of Christie Valdiserri's. Christie was going to come into this game being someone who couldn't blend in because she was bald. Being someone who planned to, I think, lie about why she's bald, maybe possibly weaponize something like cancer to her advantage. By her being gone, and by her scoring low as it was, I think from a fan perspective, from a neutral standpoint, we all can take in all of the benefits from this last minute replacement. Because I think this injection of Claire into the show, this removal of Christie from the show, is going to do two things that I think black people are going to be okay with. It's going to increase the average strategic floor of the gameplay being played during Big Brother 23, and it's going to make sure Flambeau Frazier doesn't have a chance in hell of making jury. I got to keep it funky in these streets. Now, if I told y'all that Derek Frazier was the second worst player on this season with Christie involved, believing that their only chance to both make jury was to work together, Derek is now the worst player because there's no Christie included in the show. Make no mistake about it, Claire replacing Christie has created tremors in this cast, even in my WTF. It has forced me to move some things around because of her being here. And because of it, ladies and gentlemen, we have gone from the average score of 18.44, excuse me, which was the tie of the Big Brother 22 All-Stars average score per player during that season. Now, because Claire has replaced Christie, we have gone from 18.44 to 18.88. Now this season has a higher floor than Big Brother Canada 9 had. All because they put in this girl. Now let's get into her. I'm going to explain to you all why I am so high on Claire Rehfuss. And I think a lot of people on social media are very high on her too. And I tried my best to avoid all the hype. Y'all know me. Other people's opinions play no role in my thought process towards whether someone has potential to be great or not. And that needs to be stated also. But I do not want to make this video too long, ladies and gentlemen, so let's get into the brass tacks of it all. Claire Rehfuss is 25 years old. She's from Chagrin Falls, Ohio. So this is a Midwestern gal, all right? But she lives in New York now. She is an AI engineer. She is a technical architect. She has gotten 22 out of 25 stars. She is by far the white woman on this cast that I think has the highest chance of winning the game, by far. Sarah is behind her. But after those two, it's a huge fall off after that. Because I feel like all the rest of them are in it for the wrong reasons. But that's neither here nor there. Now, she has two nicknames. You could take them or leave them. I got Crypto Claire, okay? Or I got C for clairvoyant. V for vendetta, C for clairvoyant. It's clean, I know. You ain't got to give me my credit. I know, it's clean. But I feel like this woman is going to be quite clairvoyant all season. Based off what I have read about her, she has written her own 70-page Big Brother Bible, including all the competitions, all of the different twists that could be used in the future, and all of the twists that have been used, all of the strategies over past seasons. This girl is as prepared as it gets. Dare I say, this girl is almost the female version of what I would be in the game, because she is prepared in so many different directions that she can adapt to anything. And I think that's going to be one of her biggest strengths walking into a show like this. Okay? Now, Claire is a massive improvement on what would otherwise be categorized as a lackluster casting slot occupied by Misty Christie Valdiserri. No disrespect, I'm keeping it real. Now, due to COVID protocols being broken, I'm assuming, Christie has been removed from the game and Claire is now in her place. As a result, the game has been shaken up massively before it has even started. Now I would argue Flambeau Fraser's chances of making jury just got even worse with there being no Christie. Also, Claire being from the Midwest should allow her to get along with Tiffany, Xavier, and Hannah in theory. In fact, Claire graduated from the University of Michigan, meaning she should have no issues getting along with some of these black players. Also, her being an AI engineer should also help her hold conversations with the really smart members of the cast, like Derek Zhao, Sarah, and Azza the Maza, for example. Claire is arguably twice the pivoting prowess Christie would have ever had on day one, and seeing as Claire is now the second blonde of this show, because production can't fight the urge to always have more than one blonde per season, Claire replacing Christie now gives Whitney a much better chance at making the jury as well. Got to think about it like this because it's true. Remember, I thought Whitney's initial threat level was high because she was the only blonde. Now that she isn't the only blonde, her initial threat level is nowhere near as high as it could have been. In theory, Claire's inclusion balances off Whitney's pH level of her instant threat level. It's kind of interesting to me how these things shake out, but that's why one player's inclusion can make all the difference. It's like displacement theory. You drop something in the water, whatever space, whatever mass that object takes up, that water has to acclimate to, and it makes the water rise to whatever that mass is. I believe Claire is bringing in the type of mass that will really capture the hearts and minds of Big Brother fans, both casual and super fans alike, and it will form a great bond. I think Claire has the potential to be one of the reasons why black fans and white fans will get along this season. Because I believe that Claire is going to be part of a duo that incorporates a black player. I think it's going to be her and a black woman, and we're going to get into that in a second. Not only that, Travis and Brent now have a much more dangerous white woman in the game likely to make jury, which is also good for their win conditions, depending on how Claire decides to play. In a lot of ways, Claire is in a similar position to Hannah on the black side. Claire is basically the white Hannah this season because she gets to choose to jump in the fray or let everyone duke it out. She could choose to allow everyone to go at it and then on some Mortal Kombat Armageddon type stuff, wait to the end, then run to the top and try to become the champion. There's a lot of different ways she could go about playing this, but based on her bio, I think she's going to play a specific way. Now, Claire loves reading novels, especially fantasy novels, so she could hit it off well with Killmonger, Kylan, and Sarah. In fact, I think Sarah is without a doubt Claire's most probable partner in crime this season, just based off of their job descriptions and their personality types matching a lot. For her favorite duos, she chose Lisa and Danielle from BB3, telling me Claire isn't looking for a showmance. She wants a girls' alliance to take over this season. Claire gave credit to Danielle and Lisa for their amazing pivoting prowess in BB3, but she was also self aware enough to admit she cannot really play that same style. Her acknowledgement of knowing her own limits puts her in the same dangerous category I found Sarah to be in the jury phase. She admits to wanting to bring back the dynamic female duos of yesteryear that have gone extinct over the last decade due to male dominant gameplay. Her favorite moment is anything that includes Vanessa Russo. Another positive sign here because I'm getting some Vanessa Russo vibes off this woman. I can tell she studies game theory. And I think she plans to use it for her own strategy. Also, I'm being told she's a huge super fan. This woman is going to be tough to get out. And coming in as a late alternate, will mean that Claire will feel no pressure compared to the rest of the cast who were first round production picks. That's always something you have to take into account. If these other people have been in sequester a lot longer than you because they were the first pick from production and they didn't want to risk their number one asset, but they were willing to risk you, who was a late alternate, that might give you a type of edge. Because you may have been around normal people a little bit longer than the rest. So when the social game starts, you might come off more normal than them. They may be a little sketched out because they've been, in seclusion for so long. You never know, but these things can play a role, and that's why they're part of my assessment. Also, she has the same desire to bring Big Brother back to this golden age of femininity as Azza has. So in theory, Claire and Azza just might be the unlikely duo Big Brother US needs to change the game once and for all. and change their reputation at CBS. If people see a legit black and white pair play well, it changes the way the game is played forever. Her strategy for winning this game involves using intellect, drive, and adaptability. Because she used one of my 5 key points in my WTFs for success in her pregame strategy, y'all know she's scoring high with me. Now, it feels like Claire watches my channel. I don't think it's possible to write a Big Brother Bible without having acknowledgement or at least some knowledge about the rant god, but I digress. Now, Crypto Claire wants to hack the Matrix by taking out big targets and big threats early. Doesn't that sound like Ozza? And since this strategy contradicts Sarah's initial floating strategy, I'm now leaning more towards Crypto Claire and Azad the Maza forming this duo. In theory, both these women together could investigate anything in that house and solve the crime for both sides. Hear me out here, ladies and gentlemen. I think I'm bringing up some great points. I'd argue these two together would be the Big Sky. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you never watched The Big Sky, it's a show on ABC. I'm not trying to give them no free plug, but it's basically about a black woman and a white woman who at one point were fighting over the same man and then realized, oh, we like the two best investigators at this police force and we should work together and solve crimes because we're badasses. I think it's going to come to a point where Ozzy the Maza going to look around and go, outside of Hannah, I don't really think anyone else is really equipped to do what needs to be done. And I think to a certain extent, Crypto Claire might look around and go, outside of Sarah, I don't see anyone else that really knows what needs to be done on my side of white folks. I think it's going to come to a place where they're going to realize, oh, we're a match made in heaven for each other because we can run information from both sides to each other, similar to how Danielle did with Jason Guy. I think this is the perfect fusion of talent. And that's why I'm calling them the Big Sky if they were to form a duo together. Now, you can hashtag that, and I do want my credit if this ends up being a dynamic duo this season, but I think definitely they have that Big Sky potential, ladies and gentlemen. And at the least, if they ain't Big Sky, they would at least be the second coming of dun dun dun. Do y'all know who I'm gonna bring up? Do y'all know who I'm gonna bring up? They would at least be the second coming of Brittany Blair and Sarah Hanlon from Big Brother Canada 3. Either way, I think this is positive for the show moving forward long term. I think Big Brother US is in dire need of a black and white alliance. See, in Big Brother Canada, Sir Anthony Douglas can be part of the Pretty Boys, and it's a no-brainer. But in Big Brother US, that black man is not included in that white man's alliance. In Big Brother US, Damian Ketlow has Anthony Douglas's spot. Those are the facts. Big Brother US has to get over this elephant in the room. It has to get over this hump. We have to see the players that are being picked for these shows be open to working with people that don't look like them in order for the future players to look up to players who play that way to copy in those footsteps. Until we see more people doing what Danielle Reyes did with Jason Guy, the odds of us seeing more of it exponentially decreases. So the inclusion of a Claire, I find to be much more positive than the inclusion of a Misty Christie, because at best, I don't think Christie works with Azza. I don't think at best Christie works with Sarah. I don't think at best Christie plans to do any of the stuff that's already on the mind of someone like Miss Clairvoyant Claire. I think this inclusion, and let's give props where it's due, Claire is also a new fresh archetype. Now, Christie, technically speaking, would have been somewhat like a new archetype, but I already told you I thought she was a Lydia 2.0. So I didn't really find it to be that fresh. This feels legitimately fresh. Looking at Claire's bio, looking at her picture, looking at her video, she feels different. And what interests her in terms of gameplay is different, and that's always a good thing. I'm very excited for her to play because this does feel like a new archetype. Claire has written code for satellites and competed in speed programming contests, so puzzles should be easy for her. Only the real physical competition should be a challenge for Claire, and I'm assuming that's why she plans to target the big threats early so she doesn't have to beat physical players late in the game. Claire also plans to thrive in chaos, meaning the likelihood of her working closely with Travis and Brett is very probable, depending on how teams stack up at the start. She plans to be cutthroat after she is given time to gain footing socially. Her biggest obstacle, without a doubt, will be her social game because she admitted she won't be able to float. The self awareness is good, but she has to limit her gamebot personality. In her interview, she seemed a bit socially awkward. Maybe, and she seemed to maybe have like some sort of I don't want to say a twitch necessarily, but it seems like she could have a type of speech impediment. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just going off of a 12-second video, but I'm just saying people are petty in this house and they'll look for any reason to target you. I think her intellect will be able to supersede whatever social problem she has to deal with on the precipice, but I do believe that she'll need some form of an alliance to stay strong in this game long term. I don't believe she can float as much as she doesn't believe she can float. Maybe that video didn't do her justice, but if there's one thing Christie would have been, it's probably really social. With Christie out and Claire in, Flambeau Frazier falls to last place, allowing clueless Christian to move up one spot. This also pushes Claire up a lot higher than Christie was, forcing everyone else down one WTF spot. In the ability to adapt, excuse me, Claire gets 5 out of 5 stars. In knowledge of the game, ladies and gentlemen, okay, we can get rid of that now. Let's get back to Claire. In knowledge of the game, ladies and gentlemen, 5 out of 5 stars. In social game likability, 3 out of 5 stars. In pre-game strategy, 5 out of 5 stars. In initial threat level, 4 out of 5 stars, ladies and gentlemen. And to provide a new WTF updated list to show you all how Claire has impacted this game, I will do so to provide more context to explain why the average rating per player has skyrocketed from 18.4 to 18.88. So, the way it was before, Misty Christie was in 14th place with only 15 points. That's what you all remember from the WTF. The new updated list is as follows. In last place, Flambeau Frazier, 12 points. 15th place, Clueless Christian, 14 points. 14th place, Bruiser Brittany, 15 points. 13th place, Whimsical Wit, 16 points. 12th place, T. Mitch, 16 points. 11th place, Alligator, 18 points. 10th place, The Franchise, Frenchie, 18 points. That was a tiebreaker with Alligator, which he won due to likability. In 9th place, Shaolin Zhao with 19 points. 8th place, Dr. Bones Sarah with a tiebreaker over Zhao with 8 in 8th place. 7th place, we have Hannah the Huntress with 21. In 6th place, we have Azza the Mazza winning the tiebreaker over Hannah the Huntress. In 5th place, we have Psycho T, which is Travis, with 22. In 4th place, we have Excalibur winning the tiebreaker over Psycho T. But in 3rd place, we have Crypto Claire with 22 points, winning the three-way tiebreaker over Xavier and Travis, sneaking into the top 3, along with Brent, who's in 2nd with 23, and Killmonger Kylan with 24 in 1st. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are your thoughts? Do you believe Claire's inclusion should have had this type of an impact on the WTF list, or do you believe she should have just swapped in for Christie and everything else should have stayed the same? I think because of the way that I judge people, it only makes sense that Derek Frazier would drop down a peg without Christie, someone from his city who's also into what he's into, before Jerry. And it also makes sense that Christian would jump up because of Flambeau Frazier jumping down. Also, in theory, by Flambeau Frazier becoming worse, you could argue that Zhao should be a little bit higher up. Maybe he deserves to win the tiebreaker over Dr. Bones, now with Christian leapfrogging Flambeau Frazier. But my argument is, now with Claire's inclusion, Dr. Bones should stay as the tiebreaker win over Zhao because Sarah still has the likely chance of hitting it off with Claire a lot easier than Zhao. Because of that, I didn't move Dr. Bones' position, and I think everyone else deserves the spot that they had. I just believe Claire, based off what I'm seeing on paper, she deserves to be top 3. And I think, once again, Xavier's going to be screwed due to Ty's success. And I think Psycho T is going to most likely be the Brett who has to be cut by that level 6 alliance prematurely. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are my thoughts. I didn't want to make this video past 25 minutes, so if you could, please do not forget to like this video, comment underneath it, and share it with all of the fans of Big Brother 23 that you rock with. Are you all excited for this premiere tomorrow evening, ladies and gentlemen. I sure am. And I wanted to get this out in the streets to all of you before the premiere. That way you all know my new thoughts. So if any of y'all got a draft coming up, somebody told me they had a draft and my WTF helped them with the picks. I'm happy for you, and I hope all of y'all win. And if y'all betting on someone, I hope y'all bet on black and get that money, coach. I'm Dave Smith with Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. And this has been my worst to first update. Thank you, everyone, and I hope y'all had a wonderful 4th of July weekend. Until next time.